Hi everybody, I'm Jack the Rambling Raconteur, and I hope you're doing well. We're getting near the end of 2020. So I'm going to be doing the BookTube Reflections Tag for 2020. It was originally created by Everything L. It was a great, lively channel. And I saw it on Bill Rutenberg and just loved his, Bill always has a great sense of personality, but also just gratitude and everything and joy and everything he's sharing. And so that was kind of what I wanted to emulate. So I'll link those in the description box. But here we go. Prompt 1, did you reach any bookish goals? Well, I always joke with my wife that I have, the reading that's for the head and the reading that's for the heart. It's a joke from George Michael's Best of that had for the heart and for the feet, his dance songs. And I definitely was finding great books across both. And I think being able to read and get into a different world to kind of escape what was happening in ours in 2020, but also to be able to look more critically at our world through other perspectives, through writers, great minds, characters, and think through what I need to be doing every day, every week, refocusing, and sort of where my efforts should be. That was fantastic. The year was not fantastic, but my reading was. Being able to read with my kids was fantastic this year. I loved it. My older daughter's learning to read. My younger daughter really is getting into stories much more, and they both have developed a real love of poetry. I mean, last night we read John Dryden, and I am firmly not a fan of John Dryden, and I found something I liked, and that I'm gonna quote in January. And then I loved all the events. So March Mystery Madness, March of the Mammoths, maybe Midrash was fantastic. Jane Austen in July. I mean, there were Shake Tube. There were so many that were fun. I also enjoyed being able to do Augustusalong and Here Lies Herodotus. And I did enjoy Augustusalong a lot. I enjoyed Here Lies Herodotus, but Augustusalong was sort of the first one where I was trying to lead a read along, and I had a huge amount of fun. So thank you to those of you who joined that. Prompt 2, shout out a bookish person or people you felt really supported by. I have a whole list that I'm going to do in prompt 7 where it says, what do you want your viewers to know? But there's one person I want to shout out, and I'm going to explain why. It's Ryan at Seeking Stories, and it's because I'm fairly certain he was the first person to subscribe to my channel back in January who was not a personal family member or a close personal friend like my roommate in college and stuff like that. And he was just really kind. He was commenting. He tagged me on stuff. And he tagged me on his How to Adapt a Book tag months ago. I've been saving it for the whole year to be able to do it right here at the end of the year as sort of a thank you to him and just for his kindness and friendship. And so I'm going to be doing that next week. I might do some dramatic readings as part of it, or act out a scene or something. I'm not sure yet. But thank you, Ryan. You're a good person. I appreciate you. Prompt 3, what has been the favorite video you uploaded this year? Well, there are some that I just feel like I managed to land the hammer on the nail well. I felt that way about 2666 by Roberto Bolaño. 2 others were the Swan's Way by Marcel Proust video back in May. And these are just based on what other people said to me. I try to put that kind of thought and effort into each one. But these are ones where people were very responsive. And then Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison, more recently, that it felt like people felt like I had some ideas that I shared in an articulate way. Another one where I thought I was on the ball was Ghosts, the problem play by Henrik Ibsen. So I'll link those if you never saw any of them. Other people thought they were good. Prompt 4, name a video that didn't do as well as you thought it would. So I looked this up to try and figure out what are videos that didn't get a lot of views. And I don't worry. I do this to share ideas so that I'm not hectoring my wife with all of my ideas and conversations. But one that I thought was interesting, it was a really cool concept, and that was this 10 on a theme tag that occurred, I want to say last spring. Maybe it was even earlier. And someone did it, I can't remember who the original was, but it was 10 books about revenge. And so Brian at Bookish did that one. And then Mark Nash did one where he did 10 on cities. So it was 10 different cities and then a book that represented each of those cities in his mind. And they were both fantastic. So I sort of went, like Mark, in a different direction. And I did 10 that were explicit connections between music albums or songs and books. Like there was a clear, explicit connection within the book to some specific like band. And I did that, and it had, not a whole lot of people watched it, but that's okay, because what it made me do was go and listen to a bunch of great music with my family. And so I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun like thinking through that and doing that. It was a great idea. The tag, not necessarily my video. Prompt 5, what did you really struggle with on your channel? So the first week it was learning to comment, like getting YouTube Studio on my phone, the heart, like how you do all those things, how to link things in the description box. And Sonia at An Enthusiastic Reader was really helpful in like telling me how to do some of those things. So thank you. And then later on it was figuring out you got to turn the camera around so that you get the good lens of the camera, not the bad one, the selfie one. And then getting some better lighting. So like my wife, sort of as a gift, gave me a lamp that would hold up and provide appropriate lighting. So just different things like that. And then kind of as part of that, a struggle that I have not overcome or surmounted. Prompt 6, what are some things you want to improve? Well, I've tried to do shelf tours, and they're always a disaster, like an unmitigated disaster. There's a reason I've only ever posted 2, and they didn't involve any of these shelves or books. So that's something I'm still working at. A couple of you have commented, and I'm hoping I get there soon, one day soon, maybe in 2021. I am trying, and I'm more than happy to do one. I'm just trying to figure out how to do them. So prompt 7, what do you want your viewers to know? So I'm going to do this massive thank you, and I have a bunch of individual people I actually want to like thank for explicit things. But after that, there's going to be one of those like Marvel or Disney style like after the credits teasers for 2021, if you want to like stick around for that at the end. Now, here we go. Prompt 7, what do you want your viewers to know? Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. You guys have been really kind. You have supported me. You have encouraged me. You have provided comments. You've, asked questions. You've questioned me. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the dialogue. It's kind of why I wanted to start the channel. And I just want to truly thank you. Every single person who's ever like, just viewed this and then been like, hey, let me make a comment. Or even the people who don't comment, but just watch. Like, I hope that this has been as enjoyable for you as it has been for me. And I will continue forward in 2021. Now, some specific people I really do want to thank. Obviously, I talked about Ryan at Seeking Stories. He has been a good person, and he's been a good friend, and I really appreciate that. Brian at Book Wanting, his channel's not around anymore, and I don't know how Brian's doing, but he gave me a shout out like in January. I think the second or third week I had the channel, and got people to start coming over, and his channel was also really enjoyable. I always liked where he was going, what he was doing, even when I hadn't read the books or would disagree maybe with his thoughts on something. He was just really like a fluid thinker, and I appreciated that. Some folks who had large subscription counts and like welcomed me and became sort of friends, and it just gave me a lot of like great role modeling, I almost want to say, and not in terms of BookTube, just in terms of life. And that would be Jason Harrigan at Byways in Bookland and Brian at Bookish, who both are just like incredibly kind and wise, and really, I aspire to like be that kind and that wise as I continue in life. Johnny Keene as well. Johnny Keene responds to almost every comment with like great thought. Like on his channel, he responds to I think every comment I've ever made. He's responded, and it's always really, really insightful, and I appreciate that. Other folks, Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics led me on my first buddy read. We read Native Son, which was a deep experience to read this summer. 2 who have become like friends, I would say. Noah at Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse, and Una at the Codex Cantina, and I include Crypto as well, but Una and I just converse more on Voxer, and so I just appreciate their friendship and the way they will bounce ideas and dialogue, and that's been fantastic. Other like people with channels who I just love watching what they do, and they're, the dialogues we have are just always amazing. Roz at Scaling Dandling about the books, who has so much joy and so much vitality in life. And her partner Steve, who A, rocks awesome shirts, but B, like he did some videos with her in Faulkner and August, and he just has a great personality too. And I was like, wow, like there's a couple to like aspire to to like, you know, that type of relationship and that type of fun as I continue to get older. That was fantastic. Duncan McCurdy, who created a channel after making comments throughout the year, and he's great. Bill Rutenberg, I mentioned. Summer at Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats. Sonia, an enthusiastic reader. Dario at Motley Reads. Rainer at Rainer Books. Karen Evans. All of them are fantastic. Alan Braswell. People who are just really intentional and kind. Josh at Literary Gladiators, who was tagging me, I want to say, in the first month, and then always gives a really like well thought, full response, in comments. I mean, just a great guy. Other people who primarily comment: Hester Dunlop, John C. Warner. Hester has great taste in music, and John knew Joe Bowler, who's a celebrity in math circles, so they're both awesome. Patrick, Tripp, Liam, Michael Moore, Deb. You're all, like, I appreciate your comments so much. You're all kind people. There are so many I know I'm forgetting. Lillian Nicevender, who I haven't seen in a long time, but she was always really kind. So truly, thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you. And now, for 2021. A couple of things that I've bandied about doing and believe I will. One is a sequence of the first series of Emerson's essays, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I'll probably be doing those one a month and putting the video in the middle of each month, so like the 14th or 15th. And so we'll start with history in January and self-reliance in February. And I'm looking forward to that. Last year I read An Introduction to New Testament by Raymond Brown. And what I did was I read like the books of the New Testament and then the corresponding like chapters within Brown's volume. This year I'm going to do that with God, a Biography by Jack Miles, and the Old Testament or Hebrew Bible. And so I'll start with Genesis. And he kind of like goes sequentially and then starts to skip around. Like Isaiah gets moved ahead of a whole bunch of other writers. So I'm going to be doing that. And I don't know how long it'll take me, maybe 6 months. But I'm looking forward to that. There is a possibility, I'm thinking about this. If you're interested, let me know. I'm thinking possibly, after reading Circe by Madeline Miller, of doing Homer's Iliad, maybe in April, and splitting it up like 6 books a week for 4 weeks, or 5 books a week across 5 weeks, and I don't know, doing some alliterative silly title like Hustling with Homer or something like that. But this is a great epic. And then the much awaited sequel to Augustusalong, and that would have been, the Lives of the 12 Caesars by Suetonius. We're going to continue with the lives of the later Caesars. And this is going to be in part because this is called the Augustan history, and it was modeled as like a continuation of the Lives of the 12 Caesars by Suetonius. And so it picks up, and this does have like newly compiled lives of Nerva and Trajan. It actually picks up with Hadrian, the original one, and continues on through later emperors of the Western Roman Empire. Well, the first 5 of those are the 5 good emperors, so we're going to call this one Augustusalong 2021, The Good Empire Strikes Back. And I've even got a plan to try and get a biography of Zenobia, the great queen of Palmyra, who was part of the crisis of the 3rd century. That's not technically covered in this volume, but I'm going to like put that in as a bonus. So hope to see you on that. Get your copies. The Good Empire Strikes Back. So again, thank you everybody, and have a great week.